from taking things forward from where Akshay left to Professor Isaac Jacob, that what brands can do differently. Some of the brands have taken great steps, as already mentioned by the three of you. But how is the real disruption can be caused by a brand in this period where overall activity of a consumer is so low?
Yeah. See, Akshay mentioned a very important thing that, in this context where customers are finding themselves into a limbo, for instance, it's perhaps one of the big opportunities that brands have got is how do you engage customers with the brand, for instance. And that engagement part has been amplified by two things. Number one is that the digital format gives you a lot of interactivity possibility. In fact, it is the best interactive, medium that perhaps you can actually have. Number one. Number two, look at the the kind of environment in which people are actually now spending their time. For instance, the husband has actually become the sweeper in this particular context. So they call it what is called BJP, Bartan, Jadu, or Pocha. All things are basically now, we all basically wrapped together. So, if you really look at it, there are a lot of nuances that are possible today, and Akshay gave a very good example of how maybe cosmetic brands can actually engage them, make customers really use them, for instance, how to train them, how to really get them, involved and engaged in how to really put better makeup, for instance, how to get a Sephora perhaps into the house, for instance, as such, it's a great opportunity. So if you really look at, maybe there are also possibilities of how to make, different types of dishes, for instance, as such. How to make different types of pizzas, for example, how to make different types of this thing. So you can have, this ingredient-based story that is built up. And then these ingredients actually become part of the total parcel that you can actually get. And today, if you really see, you can order it on Swiggy, for instance. You get my point. So not the final product, but the way you will basically look at as to how to make it available at your doorstep without breaking the, the Lakshman Rekha of going out, for instance, as such. And actually then engaging customers to make, say, maybe, wonderful dishes at home when they are sitting around, for instance. So these are some of the bigger ramifications that have come through, for instance. So brands are now becoming more involved in customers' solution of their own problems, for instance. And that's, I think, the bigger opportunity that is become. It's communication at a very broadest level, if you were to look at, and very highly involving the customers as such. I don't think this type of opportunities could have been got, because finally, end of the day, all customer opportunities that, as we all have been discussing, has come through because the problems faced by customers in a context they find themselves in. You get the point? And therefore, I think there are a lot many more new platforms will come in. I would feel there are new business models that will evolve. For instance, as such, you look at Zoom. 1.5 months back, the guy who owned Zoom was a nobody. If you really look at today, he's got into the Forbes list of millionaires. You get my point? So it's all basically contextually driven, if you really look at it. And then who advertised for Zoom? No one. No one advertised for Zoom. Yes or no? It's all basically customer engagement. How do you? And then suddenly the whole thing starts up. Of course, with all the problems and everything that the brand has got. But look at the way, see, certain segments and categories have been created. It's not just brands that are driving it, but brands are now creating even categories. And I think that's the big opportunities that marketers and even advertisers, for instance, should be looking at as to how to now create different types of, subcategories that can then become, business opportunities when the lockdown is removed and perhaps the COVID-19 gets, doused and things like that. So that's, I think, the greatest opportunities today marketers are really looking at.
To you, Ronak. So since you're involved in a lot of content formation, so we just wanted to get your views on how should brands be talking to their customers at this point of view, at this point of time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting, because content is always a derivation of strategy. And a lot of what Akshay and Professor Isaac have been talking about is that strategy, right? Is the context that builds into the entire element. And I think today two things have become very important. Storytelling has suddenly taken the forefront for brands who never thought they could communicate through storytelling. Because now consumers have the time, consumers have got the attention span that they can actually spend behind it. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of brands are kicking themselves for not investing in that web series that they thought they should have. But so I think that content coming on the forefront today is very interesting. Again, I think the snackable content that Akshay spoke about is bang on once again. How can I grab their attention, do it, keep it simple, silly, and at the same time drive a lot of engagement through them. Just do today. A brand that I sort of work with is Hello. It's a sister concern of TikTok, owned by ByteDance, right? They are doing so many lives. I'm sure you all see it on their social media. And a lot of these platforms, TikTok, Hello, they are all tying up with celebrities. They are using their downtime as a great way to for consumers to interact with them, and hence drive their app installs, so on and so forth. So I think there are some very interesting content pieces coming in, but yeah, I think the best of all is the fact that today every single consumer is expecting brands to do something good in this situation. They are, it's almost as if the consumer expects you to be more creative than you already are, and who can lead the share of heart narrative is what I think consumers are also very excited about. Other interesting thing from a content perspective that I'd come across was a statistic on the internet that on display advertisements, when a lot of people believe that showing human faces increases engagement, increases the chance of somebody clicking on your banner. Today, it has decreased by 27.4%, post social distancing, post lockdown. And I think that's a very interesting insight into how brands today are adapting, even the smallest of their arms to the current context and situation. So yeah, I think content in all manners today is really taking the forefront and leading the way through storytelling.
So what I was saying is that, I think for brands, it's an interesting time because, like, for example, I'm into photography, and how Nikon, for example, has opened up all of their e-learning modules for free for the entire community, right, to learn free online. They've been doing a bunch of, even Leica, for example, has been going live with some of the most prominent photographers online to discuss different nuances of photography. I think, consumers are not necessarily looking for branded communication at this point in time. They are looking for things which will add value to their life, which can add value to their free time. And that's the kind of trend we've been seeing. Actually, Google tells us that, if last year the buzzword was near me as a search keyword, like this time it's become with me. So people are actually searching for, make recipes with me, do paintings with me. So the keyword with me has become the highest search keyword, on Google in the past few months. And that's only been spiked because people's inclination towards doing something with somebody else remotely sitting in their own home has become so important. I think that gives us an insight into how consumers are actually thinking when they're trying to consume content. So if we can all create content for brands, which is in the space of, come do this with me, probably the chances of it being discovered and actually being consumed is a lot better. I think what Ronak said is that storytelling is very, very important. People are still looking to hear good stories, positivity. Because right now there's so much negative content around the internet. You wake up in the morning, you're only looking at death, you're looking at number of people affected. I think people are looking for stories of positivity. So as brands, I think it's important to look at messaging which can also be positive. So and this positive words actually evoke a different kind of feeling nowadays. So I think that's working for brands. Yeah.
So now we come to the last part of the question answer discussion format, is that it's the same question for all three of you, and I would probably answer you to in a couple of sentences at most, that what can brands achieve during this period? Your individual perspectives in the same, starting with Professor Isaac Jacob.
See, brands that actually engage customers get into the deep memory in a significant manner. No doubt about it during this particular period, because a friend who comes and helps you is never forgotten. You get my point? And therefore, if brands can actually become part of the customers' significant problem solution, for instance, in this particular context, the long-term effect of the brand and its and therefore what happens is the emotional tug, and I think we spoke about it. Ronak spoke about it. The share of heart goes up significantly high, and if you really see, all brands that have lived maybe 100 years more are perhaps known more for their emotional, tug that they bring about. With the brands, for instance, with your customers. So that is a big opportunity that that marketers have, and of course, mostly driven by communicators, building in content that are more effective. Actually, talking about feelings, talking about how brands have been able to basically be a part of your life, for instance, and therefore becoming larger than what perhaps brands have been otherwise be doing as such. And I think that's the big opportunity that marketers have got.
So, Ronak, what do you think?
I think what is really going to happen now is that data is something that people are going to take very seriously. And how can they map the storytelling that we all have spoken about with that data? Like today, the top performing content has been news, information, music, gaming, spirituality, in that sense, and entertainment. So how can you sort of natively, as Professor Isaac, I think, very rightly said, natively come in front of the consumer and become part of the deep memory. So for example, today a brand like Move, again, somebody that I recently worked with during COVID, what very interestingly they are doing is, telling people how to rid of lifestyle pains while sitting at home, while work from home, that you get back and neck, how to do, smaller exercises. And I think that is brilliant, that you are going beyond the scape of your brand to get to the brand core and crack it. So I think a lot of brands need to do this. Second, I think what really is going to happen is that you need to ensure that your business is found online. So SEOs, SEM, SERPs, Google AdWords, all of those sort of things is something that brands need to get themselves into. This is the right time for them to get that sort of attention going, because more and more consumers are online. Cost per clicks, the rate is amazingly down, right? It's by about 6%. So if all of these data strategically can be merged with storytelling, I think brands will really revolutionize the way consumers look at them and the way they engage with them on not just the cognitive level, but even the cognitive and other planes of interaction. So I think that is a really exciting opportunity for brands and marketers.
That was a great one, Ronak. Now, Akshay, what is your take on this particular aspect?
I mean, just one thing to add, I think they both have covered it pretty well, is that I think for brands to just show that they care about the customers, about the country, about the community is very, very important. Like one of our brands, we have a brand called Ashok Leyland. We are aware of how the entire automotive industry is quite down since the past year or almost. But how they've started manufacturing ventilators in their plants, right? That's a great story. That's a great story for the community, saying that, okay, fine, they are not making money through their own trucks right now, but they're actually going out of their way to manufacture ventilators for the community to help, in the current situation. So I think these things will go a long way in sticking to the consumer's mind, saying that, my brand actually, sort of stepped up. My brand actually took a stance and did something good for the community. I think that's the bigger thing. And I think brands like Lifebuoy, Dettol, who've been doing a lot of activities again on innovative platforms like a TikTok or a Hello, to just sort of create more edutainment kind of content. If you think about it, it's edutainment. We're educating them about washing their hands, but doing it in a more fun and engaging manner. I think these brands will remain top of mind for the next many, many years to come, because I think it sticks in the consumer's mind. While we assume that consumers tend to forget very, very easily, but I think there are these few standout brands who will actually stick in the consumer's mind by the end of this entire COVID season.